Hey guys, what's up? This is FreeNodeJustForAdvance.com. In this video, we're going to go over the first data section of this course. And we're going to talk about raising first in, so pre-flop. And what I'll show you guys is I'll basically show a baseline. I'm going to tell you guys some data exploits. Then we'll craft strategies out of those exploits, and I'm going to discuss some common mistakes. One thing that I want to immediately get out of the way is that it's pretty tough to do pre-flop data research because the models can differ quite a bit. Like if you 3-bet to 10 big blinds or 13 big blinds, or if you're playing low stakes versus high stakes rake, as opposed to when we are in the post-flop section, we don't have any charts in this video. I'm basically going to tell you the deviations. In order to understand how and when to deviate, we must first understand what a baseline looks like. And like this is pivotal, right? Like if you are playing, like whether you're like playing for years or a beginner, like the first step in pretty much every hand is going to be coming up with ranges that are relatively easy to execute and that do the trick, so to speak. One way you can do that is by creating baseline simplified ranges using simple ranges. I'll show how to do that in a sec. And then the second point is key. Pre-flop is probably one of the most dynamic streets in the entire game of poker, and there's going to be a lot of deviations, which is one other reason why it's really hard to come up with specific exploits. Because let's say you are playing versus, like let's say there's a recreational in the big blinds, and you expect the recreational to make a significant amount of mistakes post-flop. Then one thing that you probably want to do is play more heads up with the recreational that's going to make a ton of mistakes. If at the same table, however, is an aggressive regular on the button and then aggressive regular on the small blind, that changes. And so it's not as easy. Like there's just going to be too many different components in any hands to just explain this is what the chart looks like, do this. There will be some things that people do not do, basically. Like there will be some deviations by the pool for sure, but it's important to keep remain versatile in game and try to adjust to the specific situation that you're in. Right, so now let's go to the data. When we raise first in, we want to gain an understanding of how often the pool 3-bets. If you are playing in any non-competitive environment, then this will be very true. The data incentives that I've laid out here. So pool under 3-bets from the big blinds, notorious leak by the pool, and then they overdefend versus 3 big blinds opens and overfold versus 2 big blind opens. Now, obviously, if you are playing in a more competitive environment, say, let's say 1K, so 5-10 online and up, and maybe something like 10-20 light and up, but maybe even higher, then these leaks will be prevalent by some of your opponents and will have blocked by others. But it's definitely something to take into consideration, because the moment that someone under 3-bets, he doesn't need to overfold. If he under 3-bets, you start opening significantly wider, because one way to view it is, let's say we open in this chart. This is actually a defending chart, by the way, but let's say like something like King 6 is the threshold for opening. So in other words, at King 5 we fold, King 7 we open pure, and King 6 is neither here nor there. One of the reasons why there is such a threshold is because there is going to be a non-zero percentage of the times where someone is going to be 3-betting, and then we have to fold the bottom of our range. This is basically the tax of opening any hands. You have the benefit of sometimes picking up the blinds, but you're taxed in the sense that sometimes someone is going to 3-bet, and that is going to hurt your EV. Now, if someone is not overfolding, so basically we don't gain EV by them by picking up the blinds more, we can still gain EV by not being taxed as much as we are supposed to. And this is something that is true in the entire game of poker. If you make a small stab at a pot and your opponent is not raising that stab often and often, suddenly it becomes very incentivized to stab more. And this is happening pre-flop as well. So someone is under 3-betting from the big blinds, then you're able to open quite a bit wider. And this is very true for like late position open. So from the button and the small blind, something to take into consideration. All right, so having said that, we are going to go and look at some of the exploits. Oh wait, I forgot this. So here you can see when the big blind faces a 2 big blind open, and here you can see the big blind from the button, and here you can see a 3 big blind open. And you can see the difference, it's quite massive. Whereas humans always play something that's in between this. And so as humans, we are a bit more inclined to fold some of this suited stuff versus the 2 big blind open, and then we defend some of this from some of these indifferent, slightly losing folds versus a 3 big blind open. So basically we play as if we're facing a 2.5 big blind open mostly. And there's going to be a slight deviation. Like if you face a 3 big blind open, then what people will do is they will fold a bit more than 2.5 big blinds, but not as much as they should. And then if they face a 2 big blind open, they call a bit more than 2.5, but not as much as they should. All right, so exploits. Let's talk some exploits. Versus the pool, play slightly wider ranges, especially from the small blinds and then from the button as well. With loose players behind, open tighter and potentially increase sizing. Like this is a very straightforward concept. If you have 6-5 suited and the majority of the EV that you're getting is like you open and then everyone folds and you pick up 2.5 big blinds or 1.5 big blinds, then the moment that there's loose players behind you and that scenario isn't going to play out as often, that means basically you just want to fold 6-5 suited. And what you can do is increase sizing, and so what will happen is the bottom of your range will make less, but the top of your range will make more, and that's basically the goal. When you have tight players behind, in other words, in any Russian cash game usually, you want to open significantly wider, and typically you want to open smaller as well. Again, like I said in the beginning of the video, there's going to be numerous variations of this, and so it's quite rare that you have like a very simple one way or another type scenario where you just open wider or tighter based on the table composition. Usually you have to take a couple of things into consideration and then make a best guess. But yeah, like these are the things you want to look out for. And then common mistakes, like not opening wide enough from the small blind in particular, but then you can just add to this as well. If you're playing in a pool that is relatively nitty, like I said, any Russian cash pool, then you can even open basically you can open every position is significantly wider, but definitely the button and the small blinds. Not adapting properly is a big one where you're just autopiloting and just open your simplified range, which I'll show you in a sec how to make that, and not adapting to the situation that you're in. All right, so I'm going to pull up simple ranges to show you how to create simplified ranges for yourself. All right, so here I have a GTO Wizard sim. This is a UTG opening sim. And then what we can do is we can say, okay, we go to ranges here and we click on copy and we just pick the raising range. And then now it's copied to the clipboard. And then we go to simpleranges.com, which is a tool that's been created by Dave. And Dave is one of the guys in my team. Poker player and a developer, and he made this basically. So simplify range, and then we get something like this. And what you can see is what the tool did is it kept the frequency in check. It just made every individual combo pure. So this is 70.5% opening range. It was 17.6, and so now we have something that's a bit more easy to play, and we don't have to deal with all these like low frequency opens. Now, why wouldn't you use something like this? Well, like you wouldn't use something like this versus a solver, because the solver is going to realize, hey, on like low textures, you never have a set. And so like there's some card distribution things that are going to be pretty important. Like if you never have queen jack offsuit, that's going to be of influence on, let's say, 8, 9, 10 textures, or queen jack X textures, or even like queen high textures. Obviously, if your opponent, like in the vast majority of cases, like in pretty much all cases, your opponent is not going to be aware that you are doing this, and he's not going to be able to guess that you don't have queen jack offsuit, but you do have 5s pure. So in practice, it doesn't really matter, I think. Anyway, that's it for this video. If you guys have any questions, hit me up in the chat, and talk to you guys soon. Bye.